Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. You're going to meet Trooko. Imagine this for your career. You've worked with Prince, you've worked with Bad Bunny, you've worked with Lin-Manuel Miranda, you've made music to help people in crisis, and you've won Grammys and Latin Grammys. That's a pretty fulsome career. And guess what? You don't have to even do it from a major city. This is a bad, bad boy. We are a big fan at Pensado's Place. Enjoy this episode with Trooko. Trooko, how
Hey,
are you?
good, good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I find it such an interesting, the way that you have processed your career feels to me, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, that it's halfway intentional and halfway gut. Like, is
Yeah,
that, am I close?
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. I can
Yeah.
agree.
Tell me about the gut part.
Um, well, I don't know. I've always just I never really know what I'm doing since I started making music or how or where I want to go with it or where it's gonna land me. And
Yeah.
it just kind of I just been doing and going along with it. And yeah, kind of just like throwing myself out there since I started making music in Honduras, which I had no idea I was even going to leave the country.
And I think that's partly what attracted me to that as a point of view with you, because most of the people that we have on have some element of going down their own way. The circumstance didn't dictate that they were going. You're in Honduras. You didn't know you were going to become just like I was in Montreal, Canada, going me hosting a podcast about audio, and who who knew? And but I think for our audience, you have to understand that sometimes it's not as obvious what you need to do, but you got to just keep pushing and keep going, and something is going to reveal itself. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Because it's also like I think in music it's really weird or hard to figure out like an actual path to what's the how do you get to work with artists in this level? And in my world, it felt even kind of more impossible to even like make music. All I knew when I started listening to music when I was young is I wanted to make some sort of form of music. I wanted to like play instruments. I wanted to play live or just create stuff.
Yeah.
I stumbled into production, which I loved that because I started working with other artists and get their vision and then add a little bit of what I thought could be in there, but it became this whole different world. But yeah, but it was impossible to see how to like how do I go there and like I started taking steps without knowing there were steps, I guess.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Well, and to your point, see, one of the things I think happens is if there were sets that were preset, everybody would do it, and it would we would just have a cluttered mess.
yeah.
So the one of the things that's so fascinating about your career is you found yourself working with such major names in a wide variety of things, from Santigold to Beastie Boys, Major Lazer, Chris Brown, Beyonce, you know, and then it gets to Lin-Manuel. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Now, I'm curious, as you see that now with retrospect, what do you think they were coming to you for? What was the Truco thing?
Well, it always felt weird. I always felt like I think even now it feels like I'm not supposed to be in that room. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm like a fly, like oh like I'm doing the beat or like they want me to do stuff here. Like there's like okay, but I'll do it. But it feels like there's way more better people for that. So
Mhm.
getting into those rooms was weird. I still don't know how I managed. But I guess if I look back, it was like I maybe understood their vision, understood what they wanted to do, and maybe some of the crazy percussive stuff I do kind of hit with what they were trying to do. Because I think starting in the world of Major Lazer, Santigold, MIA, like that, when I worked with Switch and that stuff and Diplo, it was, I understood the language that Switch wanted to do or what Beyonce did for Around the World, for instance. It was
Yeah.
basically like very percussive, choppy, and that was stuff I kind of really loved when I started making music. I always wanted to like mess it up somehow.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then stumbling into worlds like Lin-Manuel Miranda, that was like well, all these worlds are weird for me, but Lin-Manuel Miranda was a whole different thing because it was, it's Broadway, it's more musical stuff. I don't really
Yep.
read music. I can play by ear and I play keyboard and percussion and synths.
Wow.
But having talking to him and meeting him and understanding his vision,
Hmm.
I even though I felt like I'm really out of my depth here and out of my water, I still had something to contribute, I guess. I guess he
Mhm.
saw that. And but it was super cool because the message, a lot of these artists I work with, that they share some stuff I really believe in, and I really think that gravitates me to the project too.
Mhm.
So being able to do that was like wild, and I still don't. Yeah, because looking back, it was I had some musical element, some percussive element, but I guess the vision was shared.
And you know, you said something that I think also is important for artists to hear. Oftentimes of turmoil, like Lin-Manuel reached out to you after the hurricane to
Yeah,
come up with a song, and you just mentioned that you identify a lot of times with the artist's mission or cause. And I've always felt that artists have a place in the world to share a perspective to the rest of the world when stuff is going on you can't figure out. And you know, instead of making just a mindless beat over here and let's party, there's room for that, but there's also room to be causal and to say, I can make art that is meaningful and contribute to the conversation. Fair?
yeah, no, yeah, super fair. And in projects like those, it's crazy because well, the first thing I did with Lin Manuel was Immigrants, which was part of the Hamilton mixtape.
Yep.
Like the and that when I got brought into that was well, it was super cool because I knew of Lin. I did so Lin-Manuel Miranda's cousin was Residente, the artist I was actually working with.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Huh.
didn't know that either. So we met
Wow.
like that. I was working Residente's album as Electric Lady, and Lin came to hear the album because he did the intro for the album. But then he heard the music, and then he hit me a part that he wanted me to do the beat for Immigrants that he was going to pitch to Residente to sing on, but he wanted to have the song done before he pitched it, so he didn't want me to tell him while I was working the album. So when I was going back to my hotel in New York, I started working in Immigrants. I sent it to Lin. Lin sent this to Residente, and it says Trooko on the file. So then we see that each other in the studio is like, "Did you work on this beat?" They're like, "Yeah," but he wanted to ask you because he's your cousin. Anyway, we finally met again, and we started working that song, which was crazy because I love the concept of the whole Hamilton concept, and this song's specifically being myself an immigrant, it just like really is like what if I rapped and sang what I would like to talk about.
Yeah.
So every time Lynn kind of calls me and gives me like I'm doing this, I kind of know he's where his heart's coming from. So when the Maria thing hit and the hurricane in Puerto Rico, I was all deck, like hands all deck, like I'll help however we can. And it was I think he went through Miami, New York, LA to recording all these vocals. And then we met in LA where we finished the beat, flew that night to New York and mixed it with like with Blue. And that was like a super fast thing because we were trying to get funds and it has to move
Sure.
fast.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you find from your perspective, as a producer, are you hands-on? Is it just the music? Are you producing vocals? Do the whole thing? Is there something you do more than the other that
Uh,
people come to you for?
in different projects I've done more and it kind of depends on project and I guess the artist, but I was always, yeah, I'm not the best with lyrics. I've done some support and I've worked on some phrases or I hear something that sounds that pops out of my head. Like with Santigold, I would hear demos that she would do, and I would chop up the demo and find like vocal cadence I liked. And then she would hear that and she would like work she would like write to it because of the way like that like the chop was done. So
Sure.
I learned that was a cool way to kind of not vocal produce, but give a little bit of a I think this could go this way. So I've
Uh-huh.
done that with few artists. And then another concept, another ways I've worked with mainly with musicians too. Like they're always way better than what I am or what I can play. But I
Hmm.
like hearing little things that I kind of chop up or kind of while we're in the room, just rearrange, and then they hear it and they play it obviously their way with their crazy talent. And so it's kind of in a way of like I think communicating with them without being able to say like sheet music stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and see, I think one of the benefits when I listen to your music, one of the benefits of the way you approach stuff is that it all has feel.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
it's not this technical, you know, perfection red thing.
Yeah,
It feels like we're gonna find that space, and when it feels good, that's when we know we got it. And that's good stuff. And I also find that is often true of immigrants who make music. That you
yeah,
know they don't come from Berkeley and they don't come from necessarily, and so they learn And by the way, immigrants can be the hood in the U.S. too. It doesn't necessarily have to be from another country.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of people who come up from the streets, and that's their first sort of learning. And I think there's a beautiful thing in there. And I think for our audience, it means that you don't have to have the best of the best. You need a tool or two, and you need passion. You need to care about it.
Yeah.
I mean, when people come to you for advice, if you were the young person who wanted to be Truco, what would you tell them they should do?
I think one thing that I've tried to, well, I guess one thing I try to do still is keep things simple a little bit, like because I sometimes overproduce myself. But one of the best things I've learned coming from the way I started making music, and because when I found out what I wanted to do, I realized I don't have anything to do what I want to do. I had like a computer,
Yeah.
and I wanted, I heard like Chemical Brothers. I want like vocoders, synthesizers. I wanted a studio, like a massive room. And the best thing I learned is cause do the best you things you can with what you have, and like learn that if you have like a small little Casio keyboard, really learn how to use that or how to not use it, because that's actually how I learned a lot. I would play with this Yamaha PSR synth. They had like a little four sequencer, like drums, melody, and bass. I think it was.
A very interesting thing that is also a subset of what you do, because you don't play everything and don't read everything. A lot of it is like what we're referring to. It's feel and gut and kind of what's your go-to stuff? Do you create on a keyboard? Where do you how do you what's your process?
Uh, it kind of varies, but if sometimes if I have something to work with, like say the artist has a demo, they send me a vocal or something to send me like they record with the piano or like percussion, they have an idea where the song's going. Obviously, I listen to that and then I start finding stuff I like, kind of like rearranging it. Then I might go to drums and I use the machine a lot, the Machine Plus, and I use
Uh-huh.
the Akai MPC too. So because I like to like be able to play my stuff, and a lot of times I don't really quantize it. I don't really like get it in a grid because I want to be able to sound like I'm playing it.
Yeah.
And I do a few takes obviously because I'm not perfect, but I do that, and then sometimes I go to like straight to a keyboard, find melody like a piano, like or go to a synth and get a bass. But I never really have a. It kind of depends on the song that comes in,
Hmm.
and I have a template I kind of load with that has like. At first, I had a template loaded with a bunch of sounds I used to like, but then I would kind of hate all the sounds the next session. I'll be like, I don't
Right.
want to do the same thing, so
Right.
I'd
Right.
started loading empty stuff that I know what I want to load, and some plugins I might use, like some native instrument stuff, or but it never. I realized the more of a kind of blank canvas I can start with is usually better,
Hmm.
and that kind of like sometimes takes a little bit to get into the groove, but once you do, is like then I know where this kind of can go.
We often, to see if you agree with the statement, we often say, um, use technology, don't let technology use you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's a really good, yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
good approach.
Yeah, you gotta keep yourself in it. Computers don't cry. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
so now if from your perspective, do you is artist development something that turns you on? Do you ever like find this rough thing in that say, oh wow, I can shape this into something incredible? It lights my creative juices on. Is that part of it?
Yeah, I love working with like big artists that already have their career and like they have that's a different challenge too. Like artists already done so much because then you kind of have to think where can you take them or because you don't want to repeat what they've already done. You're
Right.
like when I came working with Residente, that was like a kind of an approach I was not having difficulty, but I had to figure out where to go with this. Obviously, he has his great vision, but when you
Sure.
work with a newer artist, it's cooler too because you have to see where you think it can go, but also where all the different worlds they can go and how to work, how to get them to see what they want to do. I think not even
Yeah.
like say, oh, this is my sound as a producer, you're gonna sound like this because I've didn't done this already. I'd rather
Yeah.
be like, let's do something completely different. You want to do something I've never done? Let's do it. Because you've never done it either, and we'll find our sound. Which it's kind of like one of the most exciting things I think working with somebody in general, but someone who's new to just writing and they already have this level of like that sounds amazing, obviously. So working with them sounds it opens doors for me too, and I learn a lot
Yeah.
from what they do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also think if you if you have the talent bone, kind of because I have one too. I don't think you can help yourself.
Yeah.
Like when I see something that's just extraordinary, I'm like, but how do I get involved with that? That's
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah,
When
yeah.
or when I meet someone or see some a musician too, it's just like I don't even know what project you can work on yet, but I want to work with
A- all the time, all the time. And that's very dangerous.
you. Yeah.
As you became successful, um, how important did the team become? Having a team around you and helping you so that you can stay in that good creative space.
That was I think I learned that kind of a hard way because I had no idea again how to build a team or how to meet a team because I was just going as I could like and as I started working bigger projects I would have issues with like how I invoice or how I do keep track of stuff and
Yeah.
yeah so I started learning a team was important and it took me a while to find teams that could work I work well with other teams, other managers, or other people who are helping me. But it was they understood one part of my what I can do maybe as a
Hmm.
producer in the Latin world or kind of electronic hip hop world, and it
Hmm.
was took me a while to find the team that I have now
Yeah.
that we work really well, and working with them has been able to kind of they help me out. Like, well, obviously, I can just focus on making music and stuff, but
Hmm.
also it's people I can we talk about stuff and they see stuff from a different point of view sometimes, like than I do, and they're very creative. So working with like Jeff Bryan and Madison has been like really cool because we get to, I feel like we get to like kind of brainstorm a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and it's definitely like helping me like keeps the track of stuff too because I'm very chaotic and I have a lot of ADHD, so
Oh,
that helps.
listen, that's actually a good sign. Most of the best people we've had on are chaotic. And they're like,
Yeah,
somebody handle this so I can go handle that.
yeah,
And I think, you know, some of the things that our audience can learn from people like you is that it's not always right the first time. And
yeah.
sometimes you have to stumble around to find where it is. Sometimes you don't need it. You think you need it, but you don't need it yet. You don't know where it is.
Yeah, knowing the right time when you need stuff is also the thing is kind of hard. And then it's also the part that you just don't get someone to do everything for you. You still have to work out stuff. You still have to do your part and work with them because it's kind of a team effort. So working with publishers and like lawyers and everything else too, you still need to be present and not just let them like, hey, take everything because they could probably, but it's a lot easier when you communicate really well with everyone.
And also when and tell me if you agree, I think as you pick up knowledge along the way, it helps you even make creative decisions down the road. I want to do this project because it makes sense for X. I
Yeah.
I might not do that project because so it's learning that helps you creatively to actually free yourself creatively. You know,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's like having your professional panel too that you kind of revisit every other week, and new ideas come or what do we can we do better than we already did like last month or stuff like
yeah,
that. So yeah,
yeah,
that
absolutely,
definitely helps.
absolutely. Future's bright. What do you see in it? Where are you going? What are you doing? What you working on?
Well, the moment I'm still producing with artists I really like to work and like if I could choose to go just like hang out with them, I would. So I'm lucky enough to be able to be producing some of them. One is Jay Noah, whose album's dropping real soon, and she's a really good rapper. Just turned 18, I think. She's from Dominican Republic,
Wow.
and she writes so fast, so well. She has a political. She's like very aware of stuff around her, like for her age, I think it's crazy, and she can spit, she can rap really well. So we did a whole. Well, I produced like 8 songs on the album that's
Hmm.
dropping, and I'm excited for her because she's coming fast, and I think we're working next project after this one drops. So her is someone I see like just really really good artist. Working my music too. I've been doing a lot of collaborations with musicians, and we're
Oh, cool.
mixing a lot of like kind of instrumental. Some have vocals, but the idea is to do like mix of like Latin jazz with danzón, a little bit of garifuna music with
Hmm.
electronic and bass, and it's kind of a weird world, but it's been really fun because I've been working with like super talented musicians who are touring like the world, and it's
Oh,
been
nice.
they're kind of the featured artists in the songs that I'm doing instead of being like the rapper or the singer. So it's a different concept, and it feels really something I want to kind of take further.
I can I make from way on the bench a
Yeah.
referral that you may already know, but I think you guys would be magic together. I don't know if you know uh is it Simone Torres?
Taurus. Sounds
Uh,
familiar.
Amazing vocal producer and engineer, um, Latina,
Hmm.
amazing. Got her her history as a vocal producer is similar to yours as a
Oh, cool.
producer, and
Sick.
super smart, has a lot of content. And when I was hearing you talk about vocals in your approach, I was like, ooh, they could be dangerous if they meet.
Yeah, I'd be sick.
I will connect you.
All right.
We're very fond of her. Um, and you're both are artists in different ways. There's actually I forget what show she was on, but when she was like 13, she blew Simon away with this
Oh, wow.
audition. And
Yeah,
now,
wow.
now she's, she's not 13 anymore, but she's studied under Cucurell and other really
Oh,
great people. So she's a badass.
yeah, sounds
So
like it.
I'll connect you both if you're cool with that.
Yeah, yeah, super. That sounds actually like we could do some cool stuff. So I'm looking forward.
Absolutely. One of the things that you did, and I'm curious about before we wrap everything up, there was a point in time in your arc where you were at SAE. How, one, did you know Robin Rumors from back then? Don't know if you did,
I
or
think
did
I
you?
did.
Robin was at SAE, and now he is at Abbey Road Institute in Miami.
Oh, nice.
Another person you should know.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love that place too. I visited the campus, but yeah, SAE's been was a really cool. It's something I didn't know I needed, and the way I kind of I got gravitated towards SAE is when I kind of started. I was working in Honduras. I was flying every now and then here to work with some people here, and I started to kind of see I could produce to kind of a professional level. So I was trying to figure out how to be closer to the people I'm trying to work at, right? So to network, and also I wanted to learn more, but I thought I already had a good guerrilla style production going on. So I was like, I don't really need to be an engineer, but I'll go study to SAE because I want to be able to be there more time. I want to be able to get some more job, like get more into the industry. Once I
mhm,
got to SAE, what I loved about being there, other than actually being in front of like Neves and using boards, using like compressors and professional gear I hadn't really been had access to yet.
sure.
I started understanding why the things I like, how they sounded like that, like how compressors worked, like really know EQs and the kind of, you could say tricks, I guess, but I started understanding what I was doing more
Hmm.
and like kind of learning the rules to break them more, I guess, because that's all I love to do, just like do things my way. But I kind of learned really good from really good teachers and also friends who were going to say
Yeah.
they were like professional DJs who were going there too. And the network I made was great, but I did learn a lot of mixing, of mastering, production, just controlling bass stuff that became super helpful later. And that world was super cool. Like I loved, and then I got that foot in the door. That's where I met Switch and Diplo through coming out of that school.
Yeah. No, I find that I'm an advisor to a number of schools, and the best schools beyond teaching you, they're also a community for you.
Yeah.
There's a support system, and you know what? You meet people there, and you both end up someplace giants like 7 years later, and go, man, remember we only had one car? We were,
Yeah, those.
so, yeah, those are
And
great.
also one thing I loved about SAE, and I went to the one in LA.
Uh-huh.
My classmates, they were from all over the world, like from
Yeah.
Slovakia, from Brazil, and we still kind of stay in touch. So it was really cool getting to know from their world, and they were like DJs, producers, film producers, and they all kind of went in their world too. They have studios now and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, but it was like LA is a melting pot, and I already felt that. But that felt like even a bigger community of crazy
Yeah.
musicians, different ages, different places of the world, and we all had the same like passion.
Was Bridget there at SAE when you were there?
British, I think
Bridget.
Gordon was there. I don't know if you know Gordon.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So Gordon really, he was a crazy person with a crazy mind that I loved asking. Like I threw every week, I would send him a beat and tell him, "What do you think of this?"
Love
He
that.
got yeah. So he had the because he had the he was very into physics, so he was
Hmm.
very into math and music, and his advice was really interesting in that world.
Yeah, and there's an absolute connection between math and music for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
When you're producing, what do you monitor? What monitors do you listen to? What's your reference monitors?
At the moment, I'm using the output ones and
Uh-huh.
some JBLs actually, and then
Oh, cool.
yeah, I still use Barefoots, which I think I'm gonna get the new ones now, and
Hmm.
the Atoms. And right now, when I moved, I kind of got these, and I do a lot of headphones, and I love using headphones. And this, although headphones have been really good, I
Oh,
actually take them
nice.
to a studio because they're kind of flat, so I know how they sound. So I love studio speakers like an Electric Lady, for instance, and they sound great, but I can mix something faster with these and then reference with those just because I
Oh,
know
there you
how
go.
these sound, I guess. I learned
There
them.
you go. Nice, nice, nice. And your five go-to plugins, what are they?
Ooh, at the moment, let me think. Um, so Clariphonic, I think I love that one. It's just really good to get in some vocals and like some clarity in the midfield.
Hmm.
I do, well, if I think the Oven's one I've been using, plugin line is the Oven.
Hmm.
And then trying to think what else I do. Let me see what I have open actually in the back. Oh, screensaver. Uh,
Hmm.
I've been I like mixing different parts of different things. Like the God Particle, I use one thing out of it and go into like the um, the name of it. Sorry, I have this thing when I think of a name, it just goes out of my head.
Oh, it's all good. You can text
But
us to it. We'll run it. We'll run it as a little third.
yeah,
Absolutely.
well, I can look in the back. So, but yeah, I do the ovens one. I've been mixing a lot with the Mag EQ, for instance, and then after that, I go into the Clariphonic. And then yeah, and sometimes I put them. Does it sell the Fusion Hyper Pass plugin actually? Hyper filter, high filter. I do like that because it takes a little bit off of my drums. They come a little too bright sometimes. So just
Hmm.
mixing, and I always kind of try what's new and like go back to really old ones. I've been using. I use a lot of Logic stuff.
Hmm.
I think the reverbs in Logic are great, so I
Hmm.
love using that.
And plus, you can count on it. You know it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's when you want it to do something, it does exactly what you want it to do.
Yeah, and sometimes
Yeah.
you use the limiter and just like crank it, and you get this crazy distortion. So that sounds cool for like 808, for instance. So
Yep.
stuff like that always, which maybe it's not supposed to be meant for that, but it gives you good sound.
Absolutely. It's folks like you that inspire folks that watch us. Um, I think that one of our biggest honors at Pensado's Place, we were honored by the Latin Grammys a couple years back, and like we did it by Zoom. It was during COVID, and like 22 countries were on the Zoom. It was a big deal for us. Big.
Yeah.
In my little trophy case, I got a big thing from Latin Grammys.
Oh, nice.
But what you're emblematic of is that Latin music is not just for Latin folks. It's just good music, and it
Yeah.
it it, it appeals every place. I was excited when we thought we had a shot at you, and you lived up to all of it. And I apologize if we lived down to some.
No, no, I've been a big fan of this show and I've watched it like a lot and I've watched you guys on Nam and I've been like, yeah, I've been it's really cool it's a good milestone for me to be here. Actually, I'm kind of freaking out. I'm fanboying a bit. But because I like seeing it's like having a conversation with engineers and producers I respect a lot that you guys have in your show, and it's just you get to see them talk very, I don't know, like very like a human, not like a
Yeah,
super cool credits, and then you
yeah,
get nerdy techie stuff that I love to hear about too, like
absolutely.
what they use. So
Absolutely. And
it's
if you don't mind, for some of our events coming up, we got a robust schedule coming up. Love to coordinate with you and maybe have you on one of those panels.
oh yeah, we'd love to. I'd be
Oh,
actually thrilled.
done. Audience, his name is Trooko. It's not his real name, but it's his cool name. And what you've seen is that you can do it too. You don't have to start from the biggest school. You don't have to start from advantages. You got to love what you do and you got to go for it. And if you don't, we're going to come talk to you personally. So we'll see you next week.